Hello and welcome back to the Book Marketing Tips and Author Success Podcast. This is Penny Sansevieri and Amy Cornell, and here we are back with yet another Amazon PSA. This is so weird. So when I first uploaded the Amazon Author Formula, I set up the book description to have all these really fun emoticons, right? So I had like a little stack of books and a rocket and all this really fun stuff. And Amy, do you want to tell us how the story ended?
Yeah, I know. I get to, I always get to be the dream crusher because she was telling me all about it. So I was looking and I was like, I see question marks. And
I was literally
yeah, it was awful. I felt so bad because yes. Well, and part of it too was because now we're really, pulling back the curtain. I believe we were talking about potentially like sharing this with people on the podcast and like, tips for making their descriptions super cool and all this stuff. And then that moment got derailed because I was like, I see question marks. And so then he's like, what? Like, it was pretty awful.
Well, and here's what I discovered.
Of course we were doing something entirely different as well. So as we all know, there's nothing worse than like being focused on one thing and then having a wrench thrown in that. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, now I have to fix this thing before I can come back to my other thing.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So here is what, after I kind of pieced this together, here's what I discovered. When I uploaded the book to KDP, the emoticons actually worked. They worked fine. They worked on the ebook. They worked on the print book. It looked great. When you touch the book description in Amazon Author Central, it changes whatever you have on the ebook. I don't understand it. I don't know why, but it's a very weird thing. So I went into Amazon Author Central because I'm always adding reviews and things like that to the page and adding enhancements and stuff. So I went into Amazon Author Central and I changed both the paperback and the ebook, and both the large print paperback, the regular print paperback. Oh my gosh, my book is a bestseller again. Just going to add that to the podcast. I have the bestseller flag. Yay, me. Anyway, but I went in to add more reviews, and I will go in and I will add it to all the different editions. When you do that, when you make changes through Author Central, be sure to check your book descriptions because it will change. It could potentially change the spacing. It certainly changed the emoticons, because what's interesting is that they continue to appear. I mean, they look great on the paperback.
Mm-hmm.
But once you go in and change, and then the other lesson here is that once you change your description or anything about your Amazon book page in Author Central, you cannot go back through any other portal and change it. So even if you have a hybrid publisher or you've gone through Ingram Spark or whatever, you can no longer, so do not touch your book description on those sites, because for some reason it completely messes up your book. And I don't understand why this is. Now I went in and I got it fixed, and what ended up happening is I couldn't put the fun little emoticons that I had on there before, but I could put like a checklist, and so that was fine. Whatever, but that's a weird, I don't know that it's a glitch. It could be a glitch. I don't know. But that's strange, right?
It's very strange and especially frustrating because I remember not that long ago when Amazon was kind of making Author Central the loophole go-to spot for indie authors to be able to do all the things. And it kind of started leveling the playing field.
Yeah.
And then they started making changes and they took away features. And now there's this. And it's just, it's like, oh, are we going back in time now? Like,
right. Right. Exactly. So it's just worth knowing. So if you have made any if you're making changes to your book, be consistent on the platform that you make changes to. Now, I prefer to go through Amazon Author Central just because I actually don't know. I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily that much better than my books are uploaded to KDP, but I've always preferred to go through Author Central because I can go into the different editions. I don't have to, the changes seem to happen a little bit faster.
Mhm.
But it's a very weird thing that Amazon is, as I said, I don't know if it potentially could be a glitch. I don't know, but I certainly found it interesting that the ebook was impacted, but the print book was not impacted by this.
Yeah, I know. It's very frustrating. But we say it all the time. It's very real. Check your Amazon pages regularly. Just look out for things like this because I can't tell you how often, Penny, I bring things up with authors that we're not even working with yet that reach out to us that are considering working with us. And if I see something, I say something usually, especially if it's a relatively quick fix or something that they can do, outside of our work together, something we wouldn't handle. I always mention things like that. And I can't tell you how often when I say something, the author goes, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was happening," or "I didn't even realize it was, spelled that way," or "I didn't even realize the spacing was completely gone." You know what I mean? There's so many things that end up happening that authors forget to check back on Amazon for. So it's very much a real thing across the board. Like it's worth making sure you get in the habit of just checking your pages and making sure everything's in order.
Well, and I think that you make a very excellent point, as you often do on these podcasts, in that you never know when Amazon's going to change something or glitch something or whatever. So it's always a good idea to make it a habit of once a month, just go through your books and see what's going on, see what they've changed, see what new thing, because then you can get in there. Because I don't know how long that my little emoticons were a bunch of question marks, but that didn't look very professional, right? So, just going in there and just making sure that things are the way that they should be, and
Mhm.
getting into the back end of Author Central certainly does change how you work. But like I said, you can't go back. So I can't go back to KDP and make changes because it just screws everything up. So yeah, but anyway, yeah, Amazon is a very interesting and unique animal. And I'm actually in the middle of still reading The Everything War, which is a really interesting and often terrifying book. But it's a very, very interesting. It gives you a whole different perspective on the Amazon machine. And also how big it is and how much. Amy has said this to me before, sometimes in text. Like she says, I think Amazon is like one click away from completely falling apart, because sometimes we'll see things that don't make any sense. And I know I really put you on the spot, so it's really hard to recall this from memory, but sometimes you've seen things on the Amazon site that you think, I just don't even know. I don't even, like, how is that even possible that this site, like, even, Amazon's really cracking down on quote unquote fake reviews, and yet it's still such a problem on the site.
Yeah. No, and yeah, there's always weird stuff going on that is not always completely consistent, but that's another reason why we're such big fans of doing a lot of our research manual. You know what I mean? Manually, we want to get in there and see how Amazon is performing for shoppers. That's a huge part of this too. So how does your product look to the shopper? How is Amazon search performing for shoppers? What kind of results are shoppers getting? Like that's a really important part to what we do, and stay in using that as part of why we do things a certain way, why we make the recommendations we do, things like that. Because yeah, Amazon's an ever evolving beast that
Yeah.
will not be tamed.
It is definitely an ever evolving beast. And speaking of Amazon, and the Amazon author formula, I am in the middle of working on a workbook for the Amazon author formula, which I'm very excited about. We talked about that a few shows ago. That was actually Amy's idea. And I am open to, if you've read the book and you have some ideas for what you'd like to see in the workbook, feel free to reach out to me. Our contact information is in the show notes. And we appreciate reviews wherever you listen to this podcast. And share it with a friend. Click that share button and share it with an author friend that you know that you feel could benefit from this knowledge. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know this has been a short show, but it was worth definitely a mention. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.